Good evening. I'd like to call the City of Menasha Common Council meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could we have the roll, please?
Alderman Taylor.
Here.
Alderman Sevenik.
Here.
Alderman Langdon.
Here.
Alderman Kruger.
Here.
Alderman Tom Grady.
Here.
Alderman Ted Grady.
Here.
Alderman Rapella.
Here.
Alderman Nichols.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda this evening is the report of department officers, department heads, staff, and consultants. We have Chief Steica here this evening to give us the police presentation and a number of our officers.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. In your packet, you received a copy of our 2018 annual report. And we generally try to release that around the time of Police Week to kind of give you an update as to what the police department's been involved over the past year. Last year, we're kind of calling it the year of the water. There were a number of incidences that we saw when we looked back at it, that there were a couple major fires that we assisted the fire department with. There was the flood in the middle of August, or towards the end of August, that was a bit challenging for us at times. We also had a couple of incidences, one where a car went off into a retention pond, and our officer was able to pull the person out and start CPR, along with a couple other jurisdictions, and try to save that person's life. We had a person fall off of a boat, and through the quick actions of our officer, they were able to yank the person out of the water before that became an issue. So we kind of reflect as this being the year of the water. We had approximately 13,500 calls for service last year, which is about normal for the police department. We don't take credit for the crime rates. Crime rates are something that fluctuate on an annual basis, and there can be a lot of factors that go into it. You could have, let's say, one or two very problem properties, for example, and they could generate literally hundreds of calls for service and crimes that are associated. However, we do like to track that. It's an indicator of how the community cooperates and gives us information as well as being able to solve crimes. So you'll see that our violent crime rate and our property crime rate are both at a 5-year low. The clearance rate for violent crime in the United States is approximately 45.6%, but last year in Menasha it was 93%. And then for property crime, it's about 18.3% in the United States, and we were at 23%. So it's always good to see that we're tracking and solving the crimes better than what the national average is. The number of juvenile crimes that we actually refer a juvenile to court on is absolutely amazing. It's down to 79. We had been hovering in about the 20s or 200s for the last couple of years. And if you look at a 6-year average, we're at about 138 juvenile crimes. So some things that the school resource program with the school district is certainly a part of that. And I certainly have to give a tip to the hat to the Boys and Girls Club. I know that may or may not have been supported by everyone across the board, but we at the police department certainly see a reduction in some of the juvenile issues we have. And I can't imagine that the Boys and Girls Club isn't having a pretty good impact on that as well. One of the things the police department's always looked at for as well is how we deal with the community and use of force and potential use of force issues. Last year we had 57 total incidences. So when you break that down to our 13,500 calls for service, it means that we're using force in less than 0.5% of all interactions with the community, which amounts to about 1 a week. And when we say use of force, that is anything that takes a little bit more to take a person into custody. So let's say decentralizing them or taking them down to the ground to put handcuffs on because they're fighting with us, or a taser deployment, or something more substantial than just talking to the person. I think that is very, very reflective of the department that works for you. We certainly have taken in this concept that we've talked about in the past of procedural justice, using the acronym of LEAD, listen, explain, equity, and dignity. And by taking the time to actually listen to people and talk to them and let them be able to explain their side of things and to let them know what we're going to be doing and why we're doing it, and certainly slow things down. I think that's one of the reasons why we're successful in the lack of force that we have to use to accomplish our tasks. So during Police Week, one of the other things that we do, and because of the timing of Police Week, it's technically actually next week. We have our awards presentation that'll go on for the department next week. We usually try to release the names, so I'll give you a memo next council meeting to show you who actually got the awards. But I can tell you we'll be giving an Officer of the Year award. We'll be giving a Life-Saving Award. There'll be 2 officers that will be receiving Meritorious Service Awards. There's 2 Civilian Service Awards. There will be 7 Teamwork Awards. And of the years of service, Lieutenant Nick Thorne, who's sitting in the back actually, he's been here for 10 years now. Nick, if you want to wave your hand there. Matt Spiegel, he's been with us for 10 years as well. John Abrahamson's been there for 5 years, and Ray Berna has also been there for 5 years. The other thing that we try to do when we have Police Week is instead of bringing in the police officers as they get sworn in and go through their field training, we like to bring them into one of the council meetings so you can put a name with a face of the people that are now serving you in the community over the past year. So generally speaking, we invite them to the meeting after they get through the first part of their field training when they're with another officer. So the officers that are here today have been here for anywhere from about a year to a couple months, and those that have only been here a couple months have been or just about completed with their shadowing phase or being with another police officer, so they're now out on the road on themselves. The first one who was not able to make it here is a gentleman by the name of Dan Lindstrom. He came to us in March of 2018. He originally was from Stevens Point, and then he moved to Michigan in the early 2000s. He was an outdoors guy, he was an EMS person, and was not sure if he wanted to do public safety versus policing, and ended up coming to us and has been with us, like you say, for just over a year now. So he was unable to attend tonight. The next person I'll bring up is Officer Rikainen. I'm doing it a little bit differently because there's so many this year. I figured, well, we'll let them tell you a little about themselves.
Hey, I'm Rick Heinen. I'm from the Oostburg area. I started in June with the department after completing my schooling at Lakeshore Technical College in Cleveland. I graduated in May, started here in June, so a little turnaround and just excited for what the community has to offer, and the police department seems like a really nice place to work so far, and I'm enjoying it a lot. So.
Thanks, Rick. In addition to what Rick has told you, so he also has kind of a diverse background. We've had some good success with people that have some farming background. As you know, farming is a tough job, and Rick certainly has been around there. He's also worked as a bartender. He's worked as a server, as a cook. Oh, he disappeared on me. He also worked in a mill factory, I believe, if that's correct. And he was actually a volunteer firefighter as well. So he comes with quite a diverse background to us, and that's one of the things that you'll notice with all the people that we bring up here. Having them come from different walks of life, I think really helps us be able to relate to people across the board in the community. So welcome, and congratulations for being here. Thanks, Rick. The next is Matt Shanky.
Hello, my name is Matt. I'm from Neenah originally. I went to college up at Fox Valley Tech, graduated in 2016. Spent a little over a year in Winneconne part-time while working a different job, and started here in July of last year. Being a local kid, I get to see a lot of kids that I volunteer a lot with the brigade. So there's Neenah and Menasha kids. I get to have an impact on both communities, and that's something I'm really looking forward to spending the next 30 years of my life doing. So thank you for letting me do so.
So Matt's kind of humbling himself too. For a young person, sometimes our younger folks really enjoy their time off, and to get them to be involved in things outside their regular 9-to-5 type of work. Matt is one who has certainly stepped up in a number of fronts already. Those of you that may have heard or read or seen that we've talked about in the past, Lieutenant Mark Mothy retired last week, and he was very much involved in Special Olympics. Matt seems to be one of those that's ready to just step right into those shoes of where Mark was kind of at, and has been involved in that as well as the brigade and some other things. Matt's also one that comes to work with a smile on his face and is just a real positive person to be around in the department, so we're certainly glad to have him. Next is Kelly Greenwich.
Hello, my name is Kelly. I'm originally from the Hortonville area. Prior to entering law enforcement, I was a martial arts instructor and self-defense coach for the public sector, I guess you would call it. Let's see. I graduated in 2013. It feels like a lot longer ago now that I look back. I originally started in Two Rivers, where I worked for 2.5 years, until one day the Menasha Police Department was hiring, and my father, who works for the Menasha Fire Department, kind of slid it my way and spoke very highly of the community and thought I would be a good fit, and I applied, and now here I am. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to serve the community.
So just a little bit more about Kelly. If you notice, he's a little bit bigger of a guy than the rest of us, but he certainly is one of those silent giants, and he brings about him a calm in the department, a calm in the community. Because he's confident in his abilities, he just is kind of a quiet giant, I guess, if you would take it in that terms. He's one that really understands how to listen to people, and we're glad to have him aboard. And then Caitlin Oberly.
Hi, my name is Kate. Everybody here has been calling me Kate. I was born and raised in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I actually went to Northeast Wisconsin Technical College in Green Bay for my schooling, and once I graduated there, I worked for Green Bay Police Department for about 5 years. And then I was just kind of hoping to downsize a little bit, get something a little bit more tight-knit, somewhat of a smaller community, and one of my lieutenants at Green Bay actually is who recommended Menasha to me because this is where he lives, and he said it's just the perfect fit for me, and it really has been so far. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm excited to see what else this has to offer me. I'm excited to get involved.
So Caitlin, as you can kind of tell from her demeanor, she's another one that's just, it's a pleasure to be around her. As you can tell with having a bunch of new people, having both Kelly and Kate that have some experience coming to us from another department, it kind of mixes it out. So we have a nice group of people that have recently graduated from the Recruit Academy that are kind of learning the world of policing firsthand. And then you have these two that came to us with a bit of experience, and it's really nice to kind of have that mix. It's also a great way for us to kind of benchmark and see, because there's certainly some things that Green Bay does better than we do, or there's certainly some better things that Two Rivers does better than what we do. And having a first-hand person to come in now and kind of tell us what we could do better or what they learned from the other place and make us better is certainly a benefit to our department as a whole. If I can get both Kelly and Kate to come back up, though, one other thing we need to do. So there's a couple different milestones that a new police officer has. We have a swearing-in ceremony where we invite their families in, and you don't have to stand in order or anything, but we invite their families in, we have their family members pin on their first badge, and we kind of make a little bit of a celebration of it that way. The next milestone is when they get off their field training, and they basically get to kick that training officer out of the car, and they're serving the community on their own. When they do that, they're presented with a challenge coin. We designed a challenge coin. Anthony Edwards in the back over there was one of the ones who really took the project a couple years ago and designed this really neat coin. We then give that to people when they get off of, kick that person out of the car, so to speak, and get on solo patrol. Then the next phase that they have is when they actually get off of the probationary period, which is 1.5 years, they get their first uniform pin, which is an American flag. So there's little kind of milestones that they get. Generally speaking, we present the challenge coin to them at a briefing or somewhere around the department in front of the other officers, but because Kelly just got off like last week, a couple days ago, this is one of his first shifts on his own, and Kelly's due to get off in like 2 days. We figured we'd give the challenge coins 3. All right, challenge coins here tonight. So I present Kelly his challenge coin. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. You're welcome. So with that, Mayor, I guess I would turn over the proclamation. I don't know if you want to do something with that, and we could take a picture quick, or however you want to do it. So, John's crashing the party here. We'll let you see his face right now. So John Van Schindel is another one of our new officers. He's the one who just came in. John is actually kind of doing double duty. He also serves in the reserves of the military with us. And John is still has the person in the car with him. So we'll give him in uniform and we'll introduce him fully next year at the ceremony after he gets off of his field training. But certainly glad that John decided to show up and surprise me.
So typically, we do have a Police Week celebration every year to celebrate the accomplishments that our police department has had throughout the years. The chief does a great job with some fun activities throughout that time, presenting the awards, and we always look forward to that as well. We do issue a proclamation, and the mayor typically brings ice cream bars, and I hear there's usually a riot at the fridge after that. But we do really appreciate all of your hard work, and we welcome you to the department. Thank you. Stan? I'm sorry,
you, Mayor.
James.
We hope you have a very long, safe career with the city of Menasha. If you follow your training and you have those bad days where you're going to think, oh, I'm going to not do this or that, that's the day it'll catch you. So always follow your training, listen to that little voice. And we do provide the best available technology to the department. And as new technology presents itself to us, please feel free to talk to us or the chief and new ideas. And we're definitely in a technical world, and you guys all through your schooling, grade school through high school and everything, you went through all of this technology. So you guys are kind of like the new technology officers of the future here. So if we can help you in any way, please come forward and tell us that. But please follow your training. That'll get you home safe to your family every day. And that's what it's all about, your safety. Thank you.
I was just curious if we could see your coin. We promise we'll give it back. Just pass it, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief, I just had one quick question. I know Larry, or not Larry, Lieutenant Mothy just retired, and I just wanted to make sure that he retired because it was time to retire, or did he really have that big of a difficulty on page 21 putting together that desk?
You know, we're going to miss Mark. He was just one of those quiet leaders that you could ask him to put together a desk and he'd do that. He was really involved in the evidence room and switching everything over into that new one. Mark not only did his time, but he actually did a number of years beyond his maximum retirement age. So without getting into how old he was when he retired, he gave us a few extra years beyond what he needed to. And it was really neat for him spending so much time as a patrol officer, and he was an OIC, he was a field training officer, then he was an investigator for a number of years, and for him to retire as a lieutenant of the investigative area was really a neat career for him, and we'll miss him.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to congratulate everyone. I wanted to just talk a little bit about our police department and how very, very good it is. And Kate, I'm really happy to see you come from a different community and to choose Menasha. I'm originally from Neenah, born and raised, but I'll tell you what, Neenah has had many, many years of problems in their department over there. And we haven't, as far as I've been in Menasha for 23 years, I haven't seen one issue. And so I just consider this a great community, and Chief Steika and even the chief before him, they just, you know, run a great ship. And I just wanted to say that I am, and I know every other one too, how proud we are of of everyone in our police department. So welcome aboard and thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a lot of pages marked, Chief, on this, and I'll have to have a private meeting with you, and it's a great report, great wealth of information here, and I respect that. But something I saw throughout this report and is the police business is very serious stuff, and with your employees in here, it just seems like it's people having a lot of fun too. And I think that's important, not only the serious side of the business, but also the social side of it and the camaraderie between officers. And I think that's really important to a department. And again, congratulate on the state award at one of 45 communities last year, that the Menasha Police Department. And I know that was a team effort, and but hats off to you and your department again for that award.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to remind the new officers that Menasha is a great place to live, and it would be real. There's plenty of houses out in District 8 where I'm the alderman, and so let's move to Menasha. Thank you.
Okay, with that, thank you again for coming this evening, and congratulations to our department for all the great things that they do over the year, each and every year.
Great, and thank you for your time and allowing us to bring in our new folks.
Item number 2 is a presentation by Habitat for Humanity. Ryan is here this evening to talk a little bit about the Rock the Block program, both this year and some of the preceding years that we've done it here in Menasha, as well as other communities around the 5 cities.
Appreciate all of your time this evening and the ability to come out and share with you about the great things. I mean, you guys know what's going on in Menasha, a lot of great things happening, and here's another great thing happening later on this year. So my name's Ryan Roth with Habitat for Humanity, and I just wanted to share just for a few minutes about what's happening later this summer and fall with Rock the Block. And then I wanted John Weinberg, our CEO, to come forward and talk more about the big picture habitat and the things that we're doing here in the community. This wheel that you're seeing in front of you, talk to you more about those things around that wheel. So we started Rock the Block about 3 years ago, and we have done 300 projects to date. About a quarter of those projects have been here in Menasha. And at the end of this year, about a third of the projects total will have been in Menasha. We are investing a lot of time and resources into improving neighborhoods all over our service area, but especially here in Menasha. I'm very, very excited about that. So Rock the Block does exterior improvements in neighborhoods. So we come in with hundreds of volunteers, and we've done Jefferson Park East neighborhood, worked over there, worked over by the Friendship Trailhead, Doty Island on the northern west side. We've done some work in that neighborhood, working with low-income families to improve the exteriors of their home. Meaningful projects, which I'll share a few of in a minute, but meaningful exterior improvements, roof leaking and things like that, that really improves the quality of life for those families. In addition, we build relationship with those families. So we engage in this particular neighborhood that we'll be working in. We've knocked on their doors. You probably know a few things about that seated here in this chamber, but knocked on doors to get to know the families, the residents that live in those homes, to understand their concerns, and then to share about Rock the Block and the community effort that we're working on together. So the neighborhood boundaries for the work that we're doing, it includes Menasha High School, it includes Hart Park, it goes all the way up to 9th Street, and it goes all the way down past St. Mary's Parish to the riverfront. So very, very large neighborhood, includes a lot of major thoroughfares that go through the area. And we wanted to pick an area that we can have the most benefit and most improvement, and we're just excited to work with. Like I mentioned, we did door-to-door engagement. We've met with hundreds and hundreds of homeowners, knocked on their doors 4 to 5 times each, over 800 properties in this area. So huge, huge area. We do up to $7,500 worth of work for the homeowner. It's paid for by a zero-interest deferred loan that they pay back when they sell their house. So it's not free, but it's very, very affordable because of those that sponsor us, as well as the community volunteers I mentioned before, the hundreds of people that are giving of their time and talent and a little bit of sweat to improve those properties. The police department was just here, Chief Stika, and other departments here at the city have been very, very helpful in working with us, and we've really appreciated the community development, Parks and Rec, just public service, just getting, coordinating this event. It's pretty large, and we just appreciate the input and the help that we've received from the city. With Chief Stika, he talked about a year ago, he gave me a call and just talked about the impact on neighborhood calls. He did a call report to a Jefferson Park East neighborhood and showing some changing trends in that area, and we're looking to continue those measurements and to share those as we go forward. So in this Heart of Menasha neighborhood, as we're calling it, we have done over 60 residential project bids so far, residential. I will probably have a few more than that, but over 60 thus far. Of those, 32 roof projects, 19 tree and stump removal, 40 window and siding projects, 17 lead safe removal projects, 3 asbestos removal projects, like very impactful improvements for families there. So we're very excited to be working in the city. In addition, we're going to be doing community projects. So we're working with the high school. They're going to have a service day later this fall, and they're going to have high school students come out and do neighborhood exterior, raking for those that might not be able to those simpler repairs exterior-wise, that for those that might not have physical ability, and just improve the neighborhood all at once. So the event's going to start in August, and we're going to go through November, and we'll be working each week on, like I mentioned, well over 60 projects in the community. So we're very, very excited about that. But in addition to just Rock the Block, I wanted John to just come forward and talk about how Rock the Block fits with the overall mission of Habitat and the work that we're doing here in the community.
Just so you guys know, I think there's a few more slides up there that show some of the areas that you've worked on as well. So I'm not sure if you know what Sam had started for us, so.
That's, yeah, why don't you talk through those real quick?
That's how this works. Thanks, Sam.
I just didn't know if you knew what Sam had scanned in for you.
Well, I just thought there's somebody that just did this from the back somewhere. I don't know. All right, so yeah, we have a handout. You guys have this inside of your packet. So these are the neighborhoods that we've done around the valley. 11 neighborhoods, about 300 projects, and then here's just a handout that shows Rock the Block, and then you'll please take a look and show some statistics from the neighborhood, things that we've been measuring success, showing the impact when people get outside of their house and help out their neighbor, when the community comes together, when we work together in these neighborhoods, that we're seeing real, tangible, measurable results from the work that we're all doing together. So thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, council members. Just want to take a moment. I'm going to go back to the initial slide. Just want to share a little bit about what Habitat does in a broader sense in the community. Most people have a sense of what Habitat does, but I think most of it is based on the old traditional model that Habitat has worked in not only in this community, but communities throughout the Fox Valley. And so our most traditional program is our home buyer program. Most people think we build homes in the community, in which that is definitely a part of the work that we do. If you look at the wheel in front of you, that the 12 o'clock hour shows our home buyer program. So that's the most traditional program. But I wanted to explain a couple of things. One is with our home buyer program, we've been evolving more into renovation. We're acquiring blighted foreclosure properties. Other homes have been abandoned. We are now renovating those homes, many times converting them back to home ownership from rental situations, improving the quality of life for the residents that surround it as well. And so our home buyer program is for low-income families in the community, and the goal is to give them an opportunity to own the home of their own, something that they would not have been able to achieve without us, given the limited income that they are living on. And so Habitat has continued to do that, and From the new construction side, we continue to evolve our technology, try to build as highly energy efficient homes. We're improving the look of our homes as well. I know the mayor and I have had some conversations over the years about the appearance of homes, and we continue to improve that, work on it. And so I hope you have seen some improved designs, and will continue to see new changes as we go forward. But we're putting an increased emphasis on buying some older homes in the community that have been neglected or blighted, and putting a lot of our energy into rehabbing those homes and bringing new life. I'll just quickly go around the rest of the pie just so you're aware. And the 2 to 3 o'clock hour there, you see our home repair program. Very similar to what Rock the Block is doing in the communities, but our home repair program is available year-round. It's for families once again, low-income families, up to 80% of the county median income. We come in and do home repairs, both interior and exterior work, primarily dealing with health and safety issues within those homes, helping families stay in their homes. Aging in place is becoming something that's very important. So our aging population, keeping them safe in their homes, allowing them to live there longer term, that is some of the work that we do through our home repair program. Ryan talked about Rock the Block, so I won't spend any more time on that. We also operate Habitat Restore. We have 2 stores, one in Appleton and one in Grand Chute. Those stores are where we take in donated building materials, sell them back to the general public at discounted prices. All the profits from that go back into funding this mission, the mission work that we do here in Menasha as well as the surrounding communities. The last 2 programs, we do some international work. We are an international-based organization, so we help build homes in over 70 countries around the world. And so that's part of the work that we do. And the last piece is our Almost Home program, and this is something unique. We have had countless families come to us who don't qualify for our services and really don't qualify for services in the community as it relates to housing. And so for years we would say, I'm sorry, you don't qualify, here's a declination letter, and just didn't quite feel right. So we developed this Almost Home program to provide wraparound case management services to these individuals. And when I say wraparound case management, we focus on 3 key areas: educational goals, vocational goals, and financial goals. So we'll help them get connected to the educational stream, whether it's finishing to get a high school diploma, whether it's getting a technical degree or some other level of higher education. The second thing, from a vocational side, we will help connect them with new jobs and resources in the community. Oftentimes the families that come to us are underemployed or are working in low wage paying jobs, oftentimes without benefits. And so we help them get to that next stage in their career through job training and job coaching. And the final piece is the financial element. So we help get them on a budget. We help them find a way to pay down debt, ultimately getting themselves into a much better financial position so they can use the limited resources they have on the critical life things that they need: food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, those types of items. So our Almost Home program, the goal at the end of that is that they can qualify for home ownership either with our program or, even better yet, qualify to buy a home on the open market. So I just wanted to share that wheel of services with you because most people are not familiar that Habitat does all of this different type of work here in the community. All of these services are available to all the residents of the city of Menasha, and we look forward to continued partnership with you. And if you have time, we'd gladly answer any questions that people have.
We have a couple questions for you, it looks like. Alderman Langdon?
Thank you, Mayor. I was at the first meeting for Rock the Block, and I know it came out, and it's how you operate that, on a first come, first serve basis. So you're out there, and I'm just gonna guess that on this, but when other homeowners see you out there but did not do this and did not know about the program, and they come and talk to you or Sarah, or and they ask if, they could do it, do you try to fit that in, or what do you say to those people?
Yeah, so we reach out to each resident in the neighborhood. We've done that in September of last year. We sent out a letter to everyone in the neighborhood, every homeowner. We invited them to a neighborhood meeting. Then we followed up by knocking on their doors 4 to 5 times, and then we actually sent another letter as well. But it is amazing that some people didn't hear about it or didn't open the mail or that kind of thing. So we typically have a few of those per neighborhood. It's less now than when we first started. I think there's more understanding of what we're doing. in the neighborhood, but due to scheduling and deadlines, we always have to, before our application deadline date, we've never had to turn down a homeowner for work with them on their property. But after that date, it becomes very difficult for logistics to schedule and be successful.
Okay, thank you.
And just, I'm gonna add one piece to that. I mentioned our home repair program, which is on the pie chart here. They can apply to that home repair program and receive the same services that they would through Rock the Block. Just the financial mechanism is a little bit different, so they would have to make a monthly payment through our home repair program versus Rock the Block. There is no monthly payment, so they're always eligible, but just maybe a different financial model. Yep. You're welcome.
Alderman Sevenick.
Thank you, Mayor. There's no doubt that you visited 4 or 5 times, because I had 4 flyers on my door, and I thought to myself, that's amazing that you missed me every single time. But I wouldn't have any need for the services. But what I wanted to know is that, are you familiar that Menasha started a new program itself, especially with offering the loan program, and that it's also interest-free? And so like so you have been in communication with Sam, and that if, for instance, I know sometimes 7,500 doesn't go very far, and so do you work in cooperation with the city where possibly they could possibly come to the city of Menasha then, and also, you're shaking your head, so go ahead, you know where I'm going, so.
Sure, I'll take.
And that way we're on TV, so that way you can
Sure.
inform the public.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that forward. Ryan has been in conversation a lot with Sam and Joe, talking, as you were developing this program, we wanted to be side by side with you, not that we wanted to take over the program or anything like that, but we wanted to be working in concert with you.
I
And
wouldn't
so-
mind if you wanted to take it over.
Yeah, well, but we think there's great opportunity. We're excited that you created a program like this. In fact, Ryan and I have been talking to other municipalities about doing something very similar, especially the way you utilize the 1-year extension of the TIF. And so we think it's a great opportunity, not only right now for the program you created, but a great opportunity for the broader community for us to continue to do this. But we definitely will work side by side with Sam and Joe and the others here to find the best way to serve the families of Menasha.
No, I appreciate that, because Menasha sometimes gets a bad rap, but in many areas, especially when it comes to either our school district or the city government and the things we do, we're usually 10 years ahead of everybody, and we just never get the credit for that. And communities come to us to learn what we've been doing so that they can better their communities. And I appreciate what you're doing for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to expand slightly on what Alderman Sevenick was talking about and what you talked about, we wanted to make sure that we had a program that, due to financial constraints on your program, that was available to people that would not meet the eligibility requirements for the Habitat program. So we're really excited that we have now this multi-layered program that people of multiple incomes and situations in their life can take part of. And that's what Sam and I were working so hard on that program, to make sure it opened up services similar to what you guys are doing to even a broader scope of people. So excited to work together with you on Rock the Block, as well as our Strong Neighborhoods program.
Thank you.
Alderman Nichols.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for being here this evening and for the work that you do in our community. And I just wanted to be a bit of a poster child for volunteering on your projects, and encourage all of my colleagues and people here and in the community to volunteer on one of these projects. I've volunteered on one of the property rehabilitation projects, and also a Rock the Block project here in Menasha, and found those to be 2 of the most rewarding experiences I've ever been a part of, working side by side with a homeowner who lives here in Menasha on what was going to be their future home, or on repairs on someone's home who currently lives here. And the volunteers who helped me learn to cut and hang drywall, and operate power tools are also awesome people too. So anybody, literally anybody can do this. Just want everyone to know that.
Well, thank you so much for coming tonight. The mayor is not allowed to use power tools. I can use hand tools. Only hand tools. But I plan on being out there this year as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on, we have the minutes and communications this evening. Do we have a motion? Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'd like for us to receive minutes A through I and communications J through O.
So motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Alderman Taylor?
Mayor, when we do a proclamation, I think it'd be, I think the city council should be on proclamations too, so, just a thought.
Seeing no other comments? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Item F is public comments on any matter of concern to the city. Is there anyone who wishes to speak this evening? Seeing
To Bill Taylor, 545 Broad Street. A couple of items I wanted to bring to your attention. The first being televised council meetings. They have not been appearing on Time Warner for the last several weeks, at least a month. If someone could look into that as to why. And those that are available via the city website, the audio is so weak you cannot, even full blast, you can't hear it. And the closed captioning on the website, it cuts off the bottom line. So anyone trying to read the closed captioning is only getting half the story. Another item I wanted to bring up was in the minutes, the Housing Authority, I don't know if they quite I don't know if they're still going to keep the same schedule they kind of had before where they met quarterly, because they want to adjust it to allow the person in charge to be able to go beyond and allow a higher payment than what was previously approved. But they also wanted to keep, I think they have a little bit of a confusion versus the community development block grants that are federally funded, and those are anonymous, versus at least our Restore program is public dollars, and those names are made public. They're actually in the check register, and they want to keep everything anonymous. So I think there's a little confusion as to what's what. I think the public dollars should be public. We've been waiting for a report on how many went to owner-occupied versus rental properties. I still haven't seen that report either. And then I guess, kind of on top of what the Habitat presentation, I'm just wondering if this Habitat is saying that they allow a no-interest loan payable upon the sale of the property, where we're giving them a grant that doesn't have to be repaid for more money. So I'm wondering if that's actually going to negatively affect any of their programming. If someone's offered, do you want free money or do you want to take out a low-interest loan through Habitat? It might negatively impact their programming. So just something to think about. What I also wanted to mention was I noticed that the Rain Man statue reappeared. I don't know if you're aware, I've brought it up several times, that is a mandatory requirement per state statute and city code that any location of a statue or memorial needs to go through the plan commission with a recommendation of the council. It's public art, it's on public land, and that should be, when you're talking public art, it needs to be held to a higher standard, and also the location of it. Furthermore, the way I understand this program to be, it wasn't really a donation. It's kind of like on consignment. It's sitting there waiting for someone to donate money to purchase it, and then they'll hand it over to the city. So to me, it's kind of like putting your car out in the parking lot with a for sale sign, and when somebody buys it, then you'll donate your car to the city. There's something, I don't like the way it's worked. I think that needs to be looked at, and I think that's part of the reason it should go through the plan commission, the whole program. And then finally, I'm sure you all noticed the mayor was on television promoting the $500,000 that was allocated toward amenities for the Racine Street Bridge. It was also posted in the Post-Crescent, and it was on the radio. And per the mayor's own words, it said that a meeting would be occurring with those with an interest in the downtown district. So I sent an email to the clerk's office, when's this meeting? What day and time? That's all I asked. I wanted to sit in on the meeting. I didn't get a response from the clerk's office. I forwarded it to community development. They responded by forwarding it to the Public Works Department, who then finally, in return, never did give me the day and time that the meeting took place, but basically said, you're not invited. We don't really want any more input. Based on discussions within the work group today, the meetings are basically internal meetings and not open for public input. Well, to me, that's a slap in the face to all the taxpayers of Menasha for dishing out $500,000 for amenities that we can't even sit there and listen to the discussion. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no one else, we'll move on to the consent agenda. There are 6 items this evening. The Common Council meetings minutes from 4/16 and the signed die minutes from April 16th. The Board of Public Works recommendations from April 16th for a payment to Yankee General Contractors.
Just so you don't have to read them all, I'm gonna be pulling 3, 4, 5, and 6, so maybe we can take them up.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion to approve minutes 1 and 2?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'll move, otherwise you gotta read all that.
fine.
So, you were gonna remove 2? So Alderman Taylor wants to remove item 2, so I'll move for the Common Council sign and die minutes of 4/16/2019.
So motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the Common Council, which ones?
It was 2, Common Council new minutes of.
Okay. I did them backwards. Okay, the Common Council signed die minutes?
No, the new ones.
Which one did we just do, Debbie?
We did the sign dies.
Okay. Okay, so is there a motion to approve the Common Council minutes from the new meeting? Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'll move for approval of the Common Council minutes, the new ones for 4/16/2019.
So motion and a second. Any discussion? Alderman Taylor?
In those minutes, we talked about the graphic packaging, former building on Washington Street. And it's, for the past 44 years, there was never any semis parked in this lot, how they're being parked now. They're scattered throughout the parking lot. They're up into the, if you will, the public's face when you're driving by. And I thought somebody would probably come forward and reconsider on this. And
It's actually
unfortunate
in the
that we-
other, it's in the signed die minutes if it is.
You missed the wrong ones, James. We passed that already. That was in the sign and die one.
Well, I think somebody should ask Mr. Coakley, if he thinks, he really likes how this looks in our city. And he comes to our city and then he does something like this to us, it's ridiculous.
Seeing no further discussion, is there? That's not in these minutes, though.
All right, I'll let it go. I'll let it
Okay.
go.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Board of Public Works recommendations from April 16th. The first is the payment to Yankee General Contractors. Is there a motion? Alderman Kruger?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make the motion to approve the payment for Yankee General Contracting Incorporated, contract unit number 2019-02, Province Terrace Trail, Nature's Way to Highway 10 and Highway 114 for $77,339.70, payment number 2.
So motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item 4 is a recommendation to award a crack sealing contract. Alderman Kruger.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make the motion to recommend, a motion to approve the recommendation to award contract unit number 2019-06, asphaltic concrete pavement crack sealing in various city streets for Farner Asphalt Sealers LLC for $75,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please? I think Tom said.
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item 5 is the Board of Public Works recommendations from this evening for the recommendation to award the Racine Road relocation. Alderman Kruger.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make the motion to approve the recommendation to award Menasha Utilities Racine Street Road relocation KS Energy Services LLC in the amount of $139,112.64.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 7-1.
Item 6 is a change order for the Racine Road relocation project. Alderman Kruger.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make the motion for the change order of Menasha Utilities Racine Street Road relocation, KS Energy Services LLC, to add $20,574.71, change order number 1.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 7-1.
Item I is action items. The first is the accounts payable and payroll for April 12th through May 2nd. Is there a motion? Alderman Nichols.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move for the approval of the accounts payable and payroll for the term of April 12th through May 2nd, 2019, in the amount of $5,408,608.77.
So motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item 2 is the beverage operators license applications for 2017 through 19. Is there a motion? Alderman Nichols.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the beverage operators license applications for the 2017 through 2019 licensing period as listed in the deputy clerk's memo dated May 2nd, 2019.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, if we could have a roll call vote, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Taylor?
That's it. Not on that one. Okay. I'm gonna hold off till the next one, thank you.
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item 3 is a motion to reconsider the beverage operator's license application of Joseph Young. Mr. Young is here this evening, but first we would need a motion to reconsider if the council so desires. Alderman Nichols?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Young called me last week sometime and informed me that he had contacted the clerk's office about his denial, and the deputy clerk informed him that he needed to contact an alderman for a possible reconsideration. And when you're first on the list on the website, sometimes you get these calls. I spoke with him, and he stated that in his application process, he didn't understand that he needed to list all of his violations, not just the ones that were related to alcohol. And I explained the process to him, saying that yes, I could ask for a motion to reconsider, and that it's not a guarantee. It is a decision of the body. And since he is here this evening, I make a motion to reconsider the beverage operator's license application of Joseph Young.
So a motion to reconsider, as it states on the agenda, does not require a second and isn't debatable. So at this time, we would just need a roll call vote, and it would need a 2/3 vote to pass at this point to allow the reconsideration. So if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Motion fails on roll call 3-5.
So Attorney Captain, did you want to explain what this means since Mr. Young is here?
A motion to reconsider requires at least 6 votes in order to prevail. So what that means is that the motion to consider failed, as there are only 3 votes that are in favor of the motion. And so the decision that the council had at the last meeting stands.
So what that means, Mr. Young, is that your denial stands. It doesn't mean that you cannot work at a place that sells alcohol. It just means that someone else would have to be there. If you have questions about that, the chief is back there. He'd be happy to talk to you about what that means. Otherwise, you could call us at a different time as well. Okay, thank you. Item 4 is a Class B fermented malt beverage license application for the Menasha Max. Is there a motion? Alderman Nichols?
Oh, my light is still on.
It is.
I'll move for the
That was
approval
convenient.
of the Class B fermented malt beverage license application for the Menasha Athletic Association. Carol Werschke, agent, Coslow Park Concession Stand for May 6, 2019 to October 31st, 2019.
So motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item 5 is a change of agent for Margaritaville Lounge. Is there a motion? Alderman Nichols.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move for the approval of the change of agent for Margaritaville Lounge LLC, doing business as Hammerhead at 6 Taco Street for the 2018 through 2019 licensing year.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item 6 is a request to receive and spend $5,000 in State Health Assessment Community Dialogue Grant Funds. Alderman Nichols.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move for the approval of the request to receive and spend $5,000 in State Health Assessment Community Dialogue Grant Funds.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Did you have discussion, Becky?
I do. I would just like to ask Director McKinney to help the community better understand what this is for and how the dollars will be used.
Good evening. What we have done in the last year is work on a community health assessment. It's required by state statute for all health departments to do a community health assessment. And also the State of Wisconsin Division of Public Health has to do a community health assessment and develop a plan. The Department of Health Services has released funding from the Prevention Block Grant for what they call community dialogue. And the grants last year were $5,000 apiece, and we received a grant. We were one of 25 applicants that were chosen to receive the grant, so we were pretty happy about that. And we focused our efforts on doing a community dialogue in the 55-plus age group, asking them what could allow them to live healthier lives, age in place, and you heard how important that was tonight. And we had a really great response from the community. We met with around 60 people. We held 3 different dialogues, and we also had a wrap-up, which gave the folks that had the opportunity to meet with us and tell us what they needed to live longer, healthier lives, to be able to share that information both with the community and with the State of Wisconsin Division of Public Health to inform the state health plan. So we actually had an opportunity to influence the state health plan. We bundled up all the responses that we received. We presented it back to the group, and then we sent those responses off to the Division of Public Health. And that was great. We learned a lot from the process, and later this summer, we hope to provide a presentation to the Common Council. This second round of grants asked us if we had populations in the community that were underrepresented at the community dialogues. And we found that men 55 and older, we had less response from them during the community dialogues, and then also people who were Spanish speaking. We didn't have that kind of input from the 55 group. So they are now awarding us a grant to dive a little deeper and get that information and find out how we can all live healthier, longer lives, and then to report that information back to the state Division of Public Health so that they can inform, again, their process of developing a state health plan, and it will help us as a community develop our plans and processes.
Thank you.
Here it comes. So, roll call. You can't do that. Seeing no further questions, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item 7 is the second amendment to the purchase and development agreement among the City of Menasha and Christine Sones for the release of $20,000 of escrow funds. We did receive a email from Christine Sones, and we did look back at the contract. The contract did have 4 equal payments of $25,000 on. I did ask Ms. Sones when we had it on the agenda last time if it was, the correct amount was 20, and she did verify that she thought it was 20, but when we looked at the contract, when her asbestos abatement contractor came in to get paid, he asked for the contracted amount. So she is asking us to release that additional 5,000. If there's questions or a motion, Alderman Nichols?
As the money will be used for asbestos abatement, I move to approve the second amendment to purchase and development agreement among the City of Menasha and Christine A. Sones dated June 5th, 2014, and release
Of 25.
of $25,000 as per the asbestos abatement agreement.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Alderman Rapella was first.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no problem with the $5,000, making the correction there from the 20 to 25. But what I would like to see is, a report every time that we're going to give away the money. If we could have a report from Mr. Drews, because he's the guy that would go in the building. I mean, I know that there's aldermen that have driven past there and that they do see work being done, but I would like him to be able to give us a written explanation of what has been done each time, so we can see that there's being progress made. And since he's qualified to do that, we're not giving out the money very often, but he should go in there and check and at least give us a report. That's what I'd like to see, Mayor.
Director McKinney, I'm going to put you on the spot. Mr. Drew is working in capacity of the state when he's doing those asbestos abatement checks, and I'm not sure exactly what he can and cannot release. He can give us some tertiary information, but I'm not sure exactly what all can and
I
cannot.
would be hesitant to answer that question until I had a chance to speak with him about what he's able to actually inspect and release.
But we can get some information for you, Randy.
We
It's
sure
just-
can, whatever he is able to share, I would gladly make available to you.
Okay, I was just thinking, making available not just to me, but to the council.
Exactly.
Whether we approve giving, if they're just sitting in there twiddling their thumbs and not getting much work done during that time frame, I'd like to see, the progress being done.
Sure, there are 4 boilers in the facility, and
Okay.
each boiler would be 25,000.
Okay,
So basically, what we'd be asking for is this boiler be complete now before we release the next
okay, all right,
payment, is what we'd be looking for, and that's what the contractor believes as well. So
okay.
we'll get some information. I'm just not sure if I can release the entire report to
Okay,
you. We'll check
okay.
and see what we can get, though.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor.
Sure. Alderman
Thank you,
Sednak?
Nancy.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with what Alderman Rapella is saying. I just want to make sure when we do release any additional dollars, especially in the future, that the work is being done. And we're not looking for detail situations or whatever. We just want to make sure that the work is being done. My other point is if you recall, I added an amendment at our last council meeting. I want to make sure that that amendment is still germane in this case, that we go on record that we do not release, and is it still on record?
So what this does is it just changes the $20,000 amount to $25,000.
I realize that, but it's not really stated, so I have to state
Yes.
my case, that
We'll put that
the
in the minutes.
2017 taxes are paid.
Before this
Before-
5,000?
No, before the next
Yes,
one, because I
okay.
do understand it was supposed to be 25, so I'm good with that.
Sure. Alderman Kruger?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, I find it quite ironic that the only thing in this agreement that is insisted on being adhered to is this $25,000. There's nothing in this agreement with with those people that was adhered to the whole time around, the timeframes for doing everything and everything else. I mean, I was against it the last time because of the tax, and I'm still against, even adding an extra 5. I just think this body has to do a lot better job when it comes to these agreements, that we actually make sure that the people do what they're supposed to be doing on time when they're supposed to be doing it. But I'm gonna be voting against this.
Seeing no further discussion, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 7-1.
So item 8 is the Village of Harrison. It's an agreement with the Village of Harrison doing business as Harrison Utilities and the City of Menasha. Did you want this? What are you looking for? And we're gonna start out with Attorney Captain kind of giving us a little background, and then we'll get to you, Alderman Severnick.
This came about as a result of fire protection fees that are charged by, well, it used to be Waverly Sanitary District, and then in 2017, when the Village of Harrison had that large annexation, they had gone to the Public Service Commission and then changed the name of Waverly Sanitary District to Harrison Utilities. You may recall that we did come before the council and asked, what is it that they would like the city of Menasha to do? Should we make any decision as to whether we want to take over serving city of Menasha residents? Because as you recall, the Village of Harrison or Waverly Sanitary District served the town, the village, and city of Appleton a little bit, and then some city of Menasha residents. Okay, so, excuse me. This occurred in 2017, was the establishment of Harrison Utilities, and at the end of 2017, the city received a bill for the collection of fire protection fees. And as we had done in the past, it was placed, divided up amongst the various properties in that area that are being served. This is just City of Menasha, and that fire protection fee was placed on the tax bill. In the beginning of 2017, it was Waverly Sanitary District, so that's what we work off of. And it was told to Harrison Utilities that we would not be doing this. We need some kind of an agreement moving forward for how things are going to work in the future. And so for 2018, we're not going to be doing the same thing. Fast forward to 2018, there was some correspondence back and forth between the city of Menasha and Harrison Utilities to the effect of, this is a reminder, you need to start talking to us about an agreement. There was a response from the,
From the administrator?
Yeah.
Travis Parrish?
Travis Parrish, who is the administrator, and he said, we're just doing what we've always done. Basically, that's a non-answer. And so, all of a sudden, come, I think it was the week of when taxes were going out, the tax bills were going out, and we received a number. Here, throw this on the tax roll. Staff looked at everything and said, we cannot do that. We don't have authority to just throw something on the tax roll. We asked you to talk about this. There has been no discussion. You just said no. And all of a sudden, there was this amount for public fire protection fees. And so now here we are, in May, and there have been several instances where the Harrison Utilities has said to the city of Menasha, we're not hooking up any more homes or businesses or anything. It first came to light when, trying to think of the name of the, Community Way. At
Community Way and
Community
Lotus
Way
Trail.
was one of the first instances. There is a water main that is just being moved, so it was already connected. Apparently Waverly's, or not Waverly, Harrison Utilities came and said, well, you can't hook it up. Anyways, obviously this is not a position that any of us want to be in. I had worked with the mayor and other department heads. We put this agreement together in an effort to move forward off where we are now, which is not a good position that either of us are in. And so that's why you're seeing this. It was an attempt to start the discussion with the Village of Harrison, indicating that what Menasha will do is send out bills for Harrison Utilities. And then the customer can pay Harrison Utilities, and we would kind of work it like we have in the past, where when we become aware of the fact nearer to the end of the year, October 15th, if payments aren't received, then we would place those on the tax and collect them that way as a special charge if there were any remaining delinquencies. There are, because of the way that they figure out the charge to each parcel, some of the bills are 17 cents. I mean, it doesn't really make sense to mail out something that costs, if the bill's 17 cents and the postage is more than that. And so that would be something I would propose, that, you know, if after a certain cutoff, we wouldn't mail those out, because it doesn't make sense. We would just pay that amount, and maybe Director Jacobs could tell us about what that amount is, but it's relatively inconsequential. And so that's where we are at. We were hopeful that the parties could work together to enter into a more permanent agreement with respect to water and sanitary sewer service. Unfortunately, I did just receive word that Harrison did not approve this agreement. I received a letter today from their attorney, and one of the things he had indicated was that, excuse me, that the bills cannot be sent out on Harrison Utilities letterhead. Yeah, we can fix that. So if that's going to be the only issue, I think we should be moving forward on that. You're going to have to take over, because now I'm coughing. Sorry about that.
So I'll let Alderman Sevenick speak, and then we can move forward after that.
Well, this council knows how I feel strongly about the townships becoming villages and then still want to continue to operate like a township. You want to be a village or a city, you need to be a big boy. But you do realize that we did enter many agreements with the town of Harrison and the former town of Menasha. But yet, when they changed to villages, they said, oh, we don't honor those anymore because we're no longer the town of Menasha, or we're no longer the village. But I think in the spirit of good faith and cooperation, we need to resolve this and get past all our pettiness. And so I would like for us to make, or I'd like to make a motion that we enter into some type of agreement, give the city attorney authority to work out an agreement with the village of Harrison and come back to this common council.
Second. It's a motion and a second. Does that give you enough direction? Any further discussion?
Yes, I just wanted to mention that, just so the council was wondering why I went out into the hall to discuss matters with the city attorney, it was this issue.
Alderman, sure. Attorney Captain?
I think I can talk a little bit more now. I did want to mention that I believe that we may have to go into the Public Service Commission with a complaint about, we've been looking at the financials and things. We have some questions. We also have some questions with regard to sanitary sewer. The council may remember that sanitary sewer is not regulated by the Public Service Commission, but it can be. And so what we're doing right now is we are working on kind of putting together a game plan, so to speak, as to what our next move should be with regard to our relationship with Harrison Utilities. So that's on one end. On the other end, because of the fact that we have unfortunately run into the position where we can't reconnect, or we're being told we can't reconnect, that is not a legal process. If they were connected, they have to reconnect. You can't just not connect the water. And so it may be that we need to proceed and go into circuit court to get an order. We have had a builder call already as well, who is obviously running into some time constraints. And, you know, if we can't get anywhere really quick, that is like this week. That's, I think, what I'm gonna have to do is go into circuit court and try to get a court order that forces the connections within the service area that has been designated as Harrison Utilities Service Area. I don't know if you want to talk about the final issue.
I'm not sure what.
About if we should separate.
So the other question, I guess, is what do we want this to look like in the future? Should we get a price from a consultant to design the system to separate Harrison our section of the utilities out of Harrison Utilities? We'll be getting that price in the next, I'm not sure when. We will be doing that, yes. And we're working with Boardman to talk about the legal aspects of how that would work as well. We're not sure what the price tag would be on that, but in a number of ways, it appears that that's probably the best way to control our destiny based upon the actions that we've seen in the past. So we'll be bringing that back probably at the next meeting.
One other thing I wanted to mention is that it is Menasha who has its own water plant. Right. Harrison doesn't have a water plant. Where are they getting their water? All that's happening is they're managing these pipes. Period. That's it. Where's the service
Appleton.
there? Mm-hmm. Appleton. And sewer comes to us as well.
So they couldn't grow without our sewer.
So.
And we also paid for all the backbone system that allowed them to do that.
Yes.
So we do think we have a good case, but.
Randy, can you let me?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's been my whole point, and Mayor brought up a very good point. We built these infrastructures into place because this was to be our growth area. This is how this is designed. And I understand that they'd like to be autonomous and be on their own and stuff, but they have to realize is that we, as Menasha ratepayers or people that own the Neenah and Menasha that built this sewage treatment plant and built all this infrastructure to help them to even grow or to even be able to flush a toilet was because of us. And that was our growth area. And they're just used to that. And that's taken advantage. And if no one can see that, I'm puzzled by that. So, but again, like I said before, I'm getting petty. I think we need to move forward, and I think if that means we have to go in a different direction, then let's do that, and let's see them, you know, grow on their own.
Grow on their own, yep.
Alderman Repella?
Thank you, Mayor. What they did was, since I pay my water bill to Harrison, they increased our sewer and our water rates to justify the fire protection fee, so those percentages went up. It's not listed as a separate, and Brian can attest to this because he pays water out there too. We do not, there's no separate thing for fire protection. They just increased both our sewer and our water percentages that we pay.
The sanitary rate did change because that's unregulated by the
Okay.
PSC, but the water rate did not change.
Okay.
And they told the PSC that they had an agreement with us to do this billing as we had always done, although we have an agreement with Waverly. There's also an agreement that Waverly nor the town can dissolve that utility district, the Waverly district, without all parties' approval, but they did anyhow. So we do want to talk to them about these things, but we also agree that it may be best if we both go our own separate ways and control our destinies on our own. And that's why we want to explore that, and it may be best for all parties involved. Alderman Nichols?
Thank you. I'm just seeking a little clarification because Waverly, as it existed, had, was a taxing jurisdiction, was it not? So they had the ability to levy. How is what's happening now different?
They are asking us to levy for them and make a direct payment to them, which is how it worked on the water side all along. The levy that was direct to the city, to the customer, was the sanitary portion. So the line that was on your tax bill that said Waverly Sanitary District, that was for the sanitary portion. And then we actually included within our tax rate, through agreement with Waverly, and because we had a designated growth area and designated agreements to provide service, that we agreed to levy for that fire protection because of those agreements.
So,
With
yes,
Waverly,
I
which doesn't
understand that.
exist.
I understand that. I'm just
anymore.
trying to figure out why now water and sewer, or water and sanitary are billed directly to the customer, but yet fire protection is not.
Fire protection is the water half. So there were only two bills. One that was directly on your tax bill, that said Waverly Sanitary, that was your sewer portion. Then fire protection was part of your city levy, and we cut a check to Waverly.
Okay.
And Pam wants to state a little bit more, apparently.
The fire protection fee can be included within the rates. And Harrison Utilities did ask the Public Service Commission about that. However, the Public Service Commission will not consider it until they go in on a rate case. And it has been over 20 years that they went in on a rate case. They don't want to go in on a rate case, obviously, for some reason.
Okay.
And so that's why.
I thank you for that. So what I'm hearing is it's an attempt on their part to keep their rates artificially low. and make our taxes look a little bit higher. Thank you.
Alderman Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, they put, let's say out there in their system, they have a, let's just say a 12-inch pipe. Okay, then they come into our system, and then we have to have a 4-foot pipe to handle ours and theirs and the sanitary flows. You know, their volume stresses our infrastructure, and we have to have, our backbone has to be much larger to accommodate that, and I don't think that we're being compensated properly for that. You know, they're saying, okay, here's our system, and then now they're at our system. The weight loads, the stress on our system is because of their flows overstress our systems, and again, I don't think we're taking that into consideration.
That's part of what we'll be getting those estimates for, as to how that would flow. Actually, most of the sewage flows up through the town of Menasha system and then back and around.
Loops in.
It doesn't go through our system. They do have the ability to send it through our system, but they don't typically send it through our system.
But it has to go, it goes through our city along the lake or down Milwaukee
It
Street.
does, through the interceptors owned by the sewage
And the
commission.
interceptor after 6th Street, then both communities then are loading up our system after that. And we have to have this large system to handle it from 6th Street to the sewage plant.
And that's owned by the sewage treatment plant.
Right. And I don't think we're being compensated for that properly.
So this is just about water tonight, but those are things that we will
Well, I
be
understand that
talking
we've
about
been
as
all
well.
jumping around here with fire,
Exactly.
water, everything. Right.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor, and what does the motion say?
It just says to approve the Village of Harrison agreement.
No, Stan had something slightly different.
City attorney to work
And
with,
authorize the city attorney, all I've got, just authorize the city attorney.
to come back with,
So you want an agreement to come back to the council, correct? Okay, so
come back to their council.
so it's to authorize the city attorney to,
We can keep it up there like that, as long as we all understand the motion. I think that in this,
well, the motion is to authorize the city attorney to negotiate an agreement with Harrison Utilities. Correct? And bring it back to the common council. That's why I wanted to make sure that it didn't say that we were approving an agreement.
no, we're not approving an agreement, we're approving
Exactly.
attorney to enter into.
Mm-hmm.
And authorize the city attorney to enter into an agreement?
No.
Oh.
I had to authorize the city attorney to negotiate an agreement with Harrison Utilities and bring it back to the common council. There we go. Yep.
Okay. Spot here.
Sure, that works. So seeing no further discussion, could we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Okay, item 9 is an offer to purchase 1300 Whitman Drive, and thank you guys for watching the sausage be made all night tonight. Director Schrader, did you want to start this out?
I certainly can, and I do want to
I believe it's just the two of them, Mike Draham with Accelerate Sports, as well as Jeff, I can't remember your last name, with Frontier Builders is here to kind of, within your packet was a proposed offer to purchase our last city-owned lot within the Midway Business Park, 1300 Whitman Drive. There are other vacant lots out there, but those have been either previously sold or what have you. So the asking price on that lot was $52,400. The offer in front of us is 40,000 even. The proposal is to build a 9,000 square foot sports training facility. Mike has evolved this business and continued to grow it turn and turn again. And as you can see within the packet, fully intends to, obviously cannot commit to future expansions, and that's what this site and Menasha has to offer. If it's all right with the mayor, I think I'd rather, I guess, have Mike maybe present briefly on
Do
or
we
the
have
full
unanimous
council?
consent from the council to hear from Mr. Drager?
I'll move for unanimous.
Okay. Seeing no objections, Mike, if you want to.
If you just wanted to maybe give a better background than I can on, I guess, the business.
Right. I've been in the Valley for 19 years training athletes. 9 years ago, took over training with my boss shut down the facility, actually moved back to Fargo, and I bought all the equipment. So I've been training athletes in the Valley for 19 years, 9 on my own. We work with athletes from all over the state. I get kids currently coming from, like tonight, Brillion, a lot of times Sheboygan, Anago, Green Bay, Milwaukee, Madison. And then I also do, I live in there, within the district, or my son goes to Clovis Elementary, he's a pre-K, so, but then I also do the speed and conditioning. I'm contracted through Menasha High School for 7 or 8 years now. So heavily tied to the community, looking at trying to bring it closer to my house too, and also kind of where my athletes are more central with coming from different areas. So over the years, kind of built up from 2,000 to 3,000. Now I'm at 6,000 square feet, and my lease is running up. So I'm kind of looking at the next avenue for how long I'm going to be going. Since my kid's only just turned 5 years old, I think I'm going to be doing this for a long time. So got to get him through high school and college, and offering him the same services that I offer athletes for the last 20 years. So.
FYI, I got a nice note from Coach Korth last week sometime.
Okay.
Speaking highly of you and the work that you do for Menasha football as well.
Thank you.
Any questions? Alderman Sevenek.
I have a question for the city attorney. Do we have a clause in here for that it doesn't become or is sold to a nonprofit? Or become a nonprofit
Attorney Captain?
or not-for-profit?
There is nothing in this agreement. I'm not certain if there are any, which I doubt. There's nothing in the requirements, are there?
No, this
covenants
is,
or
what's in
anything?
front of us is just an offer from the Realtors on behalf of Mike. But if that's something we would wish to place on,
Yes.
we certainly can do so. And I guess I will just lastly add, while I'm still talking, there was a due diligence period of obviously 60 days, and that would allow to go through the approval process, things of that nature. One thing that both Mike and I didn't touch on is that he would, should this be approved and go through the process, is hopeful that this building is operational by November of this year.
Oh. Okay. Well, I'm happy to see this last piece of property sell, and I think this is a good fit, especially for the community. So I'll make a motion that we accept the offer in the amount of $40,000.
And did you want to include the amendment about the nonprofit?
Yes.
So
You understand where I'm coming from that? So, A lot of times people do that, then they try to get out of the paying taxes, and we realize that by doing this, we're finally taking just a vacant piece of property and now also having a building on it that'll add to the tax base.
So the motion would be to accept the offer and include a provision that if the site was to become nonprofit, that they would negotiate a pilot agreement.
Yes.
Was there a second? Okay. Alderman Taylor?
I know we're talking about the property here too, but Sam, the sketch you gave us here, that you're all in favor of that?
The site plan approval, which will kind of tackle that facade as well as the building layout itself. We'll still have to go through site plan. We kind of got this stuff in front of us very quickly, obviously with the November goal. Mike and his team are really crunching. So we're gonna take a look probably closer this week and get back to Mike with some comments on that, and then bring that forward to Plan Commission and keep this thing moving forward. This use within the C4 business district does also require a special use permit. So this won't be the last time the council will see this item either. Most new construction just requires a site plan approval, which just goes to Plan Commission. This one, because of the use within the business park zoning district, requires a special use permit, so it goes through Plan Commission as well. We'll be back in front of the council for basically site and layout and use approval.
And I appreciate you building in Menasha, and also something you had mentioned about being central, and certainly the 47 and 441 corridor is central to the Fox Cities, so I think that'd be a great benefit to you. And right down the street, they're starting to build a new Starbucks down there, so that'd be great for some of your customers too.
So caffeinate your athletes too? Alderman Grady?
Thank you, Mayor. I also too want to thank you, Mike. My son played on the football team that went to state and won it all, and I was involved in the Menasha program, being the football club president for a couple of years, and you've just done a fantastic job, not just with the Menasha athletes, but the athletes around the area. Coach Korth and a lot of the people really speak highly of you, and the things that you have to offer these kids is just great. We need that with the way the systems are today with hoop clubs and all this other stuff. You need every edge you can get. I applaud you for picking Menasha, coming to Menasha, and starting your business here in Menasha. Thank you, Mike.
Seeing no further discussion, we have a motion and a second on the floor. If we could have a vote.
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item K is ordinances and resolutions. We have two resolutions this evening. Resolution approving continuing appropriations is the first. Do we have a motion? Alderman Nichols?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move for the approval of Resolution 1119, a resolution approving continuing appropriations as introduced by Mayor Merkes.
No discussion? Okay, so if we could have a roll call vote, please. I was just asking the clerk what happened to Resolution 12.
That was from before. Motion carried on roll call 7-1.
And item 2 is Resolution 13, transferring and appropriating funds. Do we have a motion? Alderman Nichols?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move for the approval of Resolution 13-19, a resolution transferring or appropriating funds introduced by Mayor Merkes.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please? Oh, Tom, yours didn't register for some reason.
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item L is appointments. Do we have a motion for the appointment of Jeff Heimerman to the Landmarks Commission? Alderman Grady.
I'll make the motion to appoint Jeff Hireman to the Landmarks Commission for term 5/6/19 through 3/1/22.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Alderman Taylor.
It was kind of an enjoyable read, his bio, and he seems very qualified for the position. And sounds like a very interesting person we have in our community.
We've had a lot of fun discussing things with him over the past, is it maybe 6 months now? He's been doing a lot of research on the Smith Park history and working with gathering that type of information. So we thought he'd be a great addition because of the work he's been doing.
And I enjoyed his federal position with the Superfund cleanups, and may have to ask for some information on that.
Did you have something else, Tom, or? No, okay. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? And item N is public comments on any matter that was listed on the agenda.
Sandra Dable Taylor, 545 Broad. The longer I sat there, the more confused I got. I wasn't even going to talk about these items, but item 7, the escrow payment. I don't know if this is a future escrow payment, but in item 1 in your payroll was a payment for $20,000. So that was approved before you even got to item 7. And it was probably already mailed out. So it was kind of like you approve something after the fact, if I read that right. Then item 8, the Village of Harrison Waverly discussion. I'm questioning why you didn't just vote down the agreement and then make a motion to have the attorney draw up or a different agreement or work with and talk to the Public Service Commission on where we stand, rather than, because that was kind of convoluted, and I was waiting for someone to do a point of order because some of it was getting really off topic. And then now with this purchase, offer to purchase, I appreciate the motion that it not become a nonprofit, but then that got convoluted into a pilot payment. There was no talk of being able to buy it back for the same amount. There was no talk of a counteroffer, and there was no talk about contingent upon site plan approval by the Plan Commission. So that all just came up in the last 5 minutes. What I would like to know is if I would have permission to speak on the Jefferson Park issue that's coming up in administration and Board of Public Works, but was not on the Common Council agenda. I just wanted to give an opinion.
She had that opportunity at the beginning of the meeting, so if
I'll move to suspend the rules to allow her to speak on that topic.
is there a second?
Suspend the rules.
Second.
Suspend any rules or not.
Because that's a statute. There's no notice.
Oh, the attorney makes a good point that there's no notice on the agenda at that point. So what is noticed is public matters that were listed on the agenda. We can't change the agenda during the meeting.
I can suspend anything of our
Okay.
council rules.
I
It's
would,
not a
And
council
it's
rule.
up to this body if they want to agree.
it's a notice.
It's a statute.
So if you guys want to break state statute and allow that, that would be your choice. I don't want to go to jail over that. So you take, if you want to make that motion, that's fine, but I would vote against that if I was voting. What we're talking about is changing what's noticed on the agenda, not the council rules.
Yeah, that's the second
that's fine. For a while, the Board of Public Works should include it, public comment, and it's taken away again. So, yeah, I just wanted to make a recommendation. Thank you.
So I did just want to clear up the escrow payment for everyone. We did approve a $20,000 escrow payment at the last meeting. That check was mailed out. What we were doing is changing that amount to $25,000, so we'll send out an additional $5,000 payment now after the meeting. With that, if we have a motion to adjourn, I would accept that. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.